Hello, and welcome to Marriage Minutes at its pace. Today, we're going to discuss living without your parents or parents that have deceased and moved on. And it's real hard, but we're going to get through this because we know life deals couples taking care of aging parents and parents move on, and it's difficult, and it's very, very difficult. And so the reason why I wanted to discuss it because I think it's therapeutic for me, but at the same time, I've had some real good life lessons this summer that I think are beneficial. And I forgot how the saying goes, or even my father-in-law, Rufus. That's
Inside joke.
Inside joke. He
What
say,
it used to be.
I don't know
Hey,
this.
how you doing?
Hey, yeah, I never spoke to him. I just say, hey, how you doing?
You never said his name.
I never said his name.
Till he
He told me, you don't ever say my name. Anyway.
Yep, does Mark say my name?
Does he know my name? Anyway. And he would always say you have to give people that bouquet of flowers before they die. And so it's been difficult. My father died in 2017, and my mom is still alive, but not as I remember her. And it's just difficult. And so I've had a hard time. My grieving process is different, and everybody's grieving process is different. But I was not looking at the good of what my parents had taught me and what they have given me, and I was playing the pity party. And I was kind of stuck in a rut. And the preparation that they had put in place, I was mad at God and I was mad at myself for giving me that much responsibility. And so it's been very difficult to deal with. But my prayer has been to have a male figure in my life that would represent my father, because my father was always the guy that I could call, and whenever I had to make decisions, he would help me talk it through, and I would come to some type of decision after having dialogue with him, and not having that. Yeah.
So I've been observing this from the sidelines, and it is really challenging to watch because my husband and I operate so differently in our decision making. And so I can admit that I probably have not been the best representation of George because Mark has to run all of these ideas through his head before he makes a decision. And I'm sure that George was wonderful at playing that game with him. And I am very matter of fact and black and white, and I don't understand that game. So I probably made that a little bit harder for him. And also I'll say this, he's ready now to talk, but also I'll say this too. It is challenging for me as well because my parents are still here. And so while I want to empathize with him and be sympathetic, and I'm grieving for my in-laws as well, or for my father-in-law and my mother-in-law not being well, I agree with that as well. But then there's the balance of how do I still stand for my parents, and how do we do this together, seeing as though we kind of have some differences that go along in our relationship. You ready now?
Oh, yeah. Okay. And so, not having that makes it difficult. And so, I got a lot of plates. And so my prayer has been, as I realize that I have to unload some of the stuff and make some different decisions, I had a chance to have dinner with my uncles.
He's got like some of the coolest uncles.
Yeah, my uncles are awesome. And so my Uncle Larry was in town from California, so we had him over for dinner. And then his brother, I invited his brothers, and they all came over, and we just hung out. And we sat at the table, and we talked about old times. And because I was old enough to know a lot of what they were talking about, but it was just good to reminisce. And God through my wife, but God was kind of like, you don't necessarily need father, you just have to utilize what you got, and I can't say that I've always utilized my uncles. They love me, I'm their sister's son, and so they love me and my sister wholeheartedly and would do anything for us. But sometimes when you're going through, you don't necessarily see everything that you need to see. And so, my lesson in that was that I have to utilize those who love me, but those who are maybe siblings of your parents, that can stand in the gap, so to speak, and it's been difficult, and I know it's difficult in its seasons to grieving and its seasons through going through life, but I think the goal is not to play the shame game and the guilt that the enemy will weigh on you, and you just have to get through that process. It's challenging, but there are those that God will put in place to give you what you need for what your parents gave you, and I love my in-laws. I love, and my uncles, and I'm going to utilize them as much as I can. But I was really dealing with a lot of stuff, and I think the real good thing of it is you have to share it with your spouse, you know. And I told her, I said, when I see people with their parents who are 80 and they just had their 85th birthday, I'm happy for them. But part of me is very mad because I don't have mine, you know. So that's life. That's part of marriage that we deal with that doesn't get discussed, And so, hey, my mom is still here. I have to work myself through that to enjoy what I do have with her, and just make the best of it. But I got uncles. I got 6 uncles. I think it's 6.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of them.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk to the fact that if you are grieving over a loss, there are so many different areas of the stages of grieving that you need to be okay with. Accept that anger is a part of the grieving process. Depression is a part of the grieving process. Denial is a part of the grieving process. Bargaining is a part of the grieving process. And then there is acceptance. And it's cyclic. You don't necessarily go through those particular stages in that order. You might go up here, down there, and back, and it's okay. But you don't have the right to block your spouse out of that, because you all are working and operating through that together. And the biggest lesson that I have learned in regard to this is that every day I want to live without regrets in regard to my parents, in regard to my friendships, in regard to who I am as a person, because we know all too well in this day and age that tomorrow is not promised.
Yeah, and I was with a high school friend yesterday, and we were just talking about it. It was just like, you got to live the now, man. The dash. We have to live the dash. That being the day you was born and the day you died. But that dash in between those two numbers, you got to live it to the fullest. So I'm living the dash, and we're going. Sure.
Aww.
Be well, be blessed.